You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Sam Dykstra in New York City. My name is Tyler Maughan in Denver, Colorado. Sam is hitting the road to spring training coming to some. When is the flight? When are you leaving?
The flight is literally
so jealous that you're going to be going somewhere warm.
Well, you're going somewhere cool too, and we'll talk about that.
Well, yeah, but like I woke up this morning, it was -5 here, so I'm just like angry at you. When do you leave?
That's fine. We can start with anger energy with this week's show. That's fine. I am literally getting on an airplane tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and I am flying down to Tampa, Florida, to begin my spring training journey. I will be in Florida for 12 days, hitting 1 camp per day, so 10 in total. Starting with
Wait a minute, you're going to be there for 12 days. You're hitting 1 camp per day. Shouldn't there be 12 camps, Sam?
No, I'm flying in. That's the travel day. Then I'm going to camp for 10 days in a row.
That's
and then
just lazy.
I'm leaving.
That's what that sounds like. You couldn't make it to a camp tomorrow and on your travel day out?
No, I can't. No, I love baseball. I love this trip. I'm very excited for it, but it's especially in Florida, which when you compare to Arizona, where I would be flying into Phoenix and just moving around Phoenix. This is flying into Tampa and then going to Lakeland for a day, and then going down to Northport for a day, and then going to Clearwater and moving all around. And I'm finishing in Fort Myers with the Twins and the Red Sox, and a stop in Sarasota along the way. There's everything that's on the Gulf Coast of Florida, including Lakeland, which isn't really in the coast, in the middle. That's my journey for MLB Pipeline. So I'm very excited for that. That's starting technically tomorrow. My first camp trip is on Saturday.
Now, do you have them already plotted out of which is going to be which day, or do you kind of leave it? I remember when I used to go to Arizona for our mill coverage, Josh Jackson and I, we would convene in our palatial Airbnb estate, and we would sort of map things out when we got there. Like, all right, I'm thinking about the Royals this day, and then maybe I'll go to Glendale. And do you have like what's set for each day?
Yes, I do have what's set for each day. I'll try to keep people updated on where I'll be per day. Fun. But a good way to do this, and this is one reason why I'm going to the places that I am, I will be part of MLB Network's coverage, but they're calling the spring training sprint. They're covering 2 camps a day, 1 in Florida, 1 in Arizona. I'll be doing hits, not from each stadium. A lot of them might be a little bit pre-recorded, but every day I will be in the camp that MLB Network is in. Cool. So Saturday, they will be in Lakeland. I will be in Lakeland. The day after that, they'll be in Pittsburgh, they'll be in Bradenton. I'll be in Bradenton to cover Pirates camp. So I will be following their schedule. So if you are watching MLB Network and they tell you, hey, here's where we're going to be for the next week, I will be in the same place.
That's fantastic, man. We are very excited for all of the coverage from Sam Dykstra in the Grapefruit State. What is Florida? The Sunshine State.
Sunshine State. Yeah. It's the Grapefruit League state to us, really.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I always get confused with that quote from Old School where he calls Colorado the Sunshine State. Gorgeous. Anyway, we do have a lot of stuff coming for spring training coverage, and we've got a very interesting story that has popped up on the spring training horizon, and that is one that we are going to discuss in this opening segment, which is Philadelphia Phillies right-hander Noah Song is set to report to Phillies spring training this week. Today, in fact, so we're recording this on Thursday the 23rd, with the hopes of making his team's opening day roster after transferring his status with the United States Navy from active duty to selected reserves. You may remember Noah Song. Noah Song, 25 years old, pitched in the Naval Academy, drafted by the Boston Red Sox in the 4th round in 2019. He pitched in 17 games at low A that year, and then was denied a waiver by the Department of Defense to forego that military obligation, and he's been on active duty ever since in the Navy. He went to flight school. He pitched for USA Baseball after that 2019 minor league season in which he pitched with Lowell, and he made it to the final round of the Premier 12 tournament with USA Baseball, and was extremely impressive against really, really high level talent. Then all of a sudden he was just gone from professional baseball for a couple of years due to the situation with the denial of the waiver. This is fascinating, man. Noah Song obviously has lost a few years, but is a guy with tremendous upside. He's only 25. This is going to be a really interesting story to follow.
It is. It's instantly become like one of the stories in Phillies camp, which is fascinating to me because the Phillies are the defending NL champs. We've already talked last week about like Andrew Painter, the top pitching prospect in baseball, is fighting for a number 5 rotation spot. They just added Trey Turner. That's a new face in camp. Bryce Harper hasn't shown up yet, but seems to be working out in Las Vegas. Will be around soon. There's a lot going on for the Phillies. And then Noah Song shows up, and it just everything now revolves around him, which is more than we ever talk really about a Rule 5 pick. As much as I love the Rule 5 draft and the opportunity it gets guys to make a major league job, it's just been fascinating to see this explode in the way it has. And I think some of that has to do with the market, right? There's a lot of interest in the Phillies now. Also, he comes from the Red Sox, who have had some really head-scratching moves, not only in the last few months, but like in the last few years, leaving Noah Song protected or unprotected in the Rule 5 draft. There are some people out there who think they should have protected him, then put him on like the military service list, which would have effectively taken him off the 40-man roster, wouldn't have had him count towards the 40-man roster anyways. And then they wouldn't have had to push him to the major leagues in the way that the Phillies now have to. It's just fascinating to watch it play out. Who is Noah Song going to be? I think anybody who tells you with any certainty probably doesn't know what they're talking about. Like Dave Dombrowski himself, you know, the head of the Phillies front office, said he talked to Noah Song, said like, hey, what have you been doing? And Noah Song said, I've been throwing off to the side when I can. And he just started throwing off the mound for the first time in 3 years because he's been busy. Like it's perfectly legit. Like I don't blame him for doing that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But, and I think part of the quote was, you know, what was it like doing that? And he's like, it felt like I have not thrown off the mound in 3 years. It is difficult to do to just pick up a ball again and assume you can touch 99 miles an hour. I'm sure Noah Strong, he looks great. I've seen pictures of him. I mean, he looks like a person in shape. Good for him. But, you know,
something I've never looked like.
Right. Well, you know,
impressive.
I haven't either. I don't look like somebody who could ever have touched 89, never mind 99. But for him, like he hasn't used a lot of his bullets. It's not like there's a lot of wear and tear on his shoulder or on his elbow. So he has that going for him. But just picking up a ball again and assuming you can flash a plus slider, throw a good curveball again after so many years of non-use, I think is assuming a lot. What I think will be interesting to have happen, and people have talked about this on Twitter, I don't think he's going to make the Phillies, right? Like the Phillies are in win now mode. They can't just be holding down a 26-man roster spot for a guy who like is going to still be coming along. Even if they try to say he's injured in some way, you send him to the minors to rehab. He just has to be on the active roster for 90 days. There are ways to get around it. That said, the Phillies can't carry a guy who's trying to figure it out for 90 days. That's just too difficult of an ask. I'm sure they're going to keep him in camp as long as they can, but then they can put him on waivers and another team can come in and swoop him and get those still, you know, those same Rule 5 stipulations that he needs to be on the roster all year or else he gets returned to the Red Sox. And I would not be surprised if multiple teams try that, right? You look at teams like the Reds or the Tigers or the Pirates or, you know, some of these non-contending teams that should be doing everything they can to add talent, controllable talent that they'll have for years. Why not take a look at Noah Song? Just see what he has. Like if the Phillies aren't going to hold on to him, now you know he's going to pitch. That was the big question when the Phillies took him to the Rule 5 draft. It's like, yeah, it's a swing, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Nobody knew then that he would be out of military service by the spring. We know it now. And I'm sure a lot of teams are going to be giving him a look if he goes on waivers like that, just because they want the chance to get a guy who at one point was a near top 100 prospect.
Well, this week on the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, we are headed not to the Florida Grapefruit League, where Noah Song will be here in 2023, but across the country to the Cactus League, where we find last year's minor league saves leader, Cam Robinson of the Milwaukee Brewers, who joins us from Arizona next.
Well, we're very pleased this week on the Show Before the Show podcast to be joined by Brewers relief pitching prospect Cam Robinson, who we'll get to this in a little bit, but led the minors in saves last year. So some of you might recognize him from that. But Cam, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Oh, no problem. I'm doing well. Excited to get into the season. First big league camp. Eyes start opening wider when you see all this shiny stuff around.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch on that because you just got added to the 40-man this past fall. So now you are this is not a non-roster invite situation. You are a full-fledged member of big league camp. What have these last couple of days been like since that changed?
I would say it's almost surreal because a lot of the guys in the locker room, you grow up hearing their names or you play video games with them now,
Yeah, right.
So it's awesome, but it's kind of weird at the same time. Because I'm like, oh, I just hit a bomb with this dude last week on the show. Now he's my locker mate,
Is that how you do scouting? Like, I know you guys got to do live VPs and stuff. If you're going up against Yelich, then you're just like, hey, I know in the game you're not as good at the high fastball. I need to go. Is that how it works?
Sometimes, you look at their cold spots on the game. It's almost a practice because you get to see what their swing path is like. All that fun jazz.
There you go. Well, what are you working on right now? Because I think a lot of people don't understand what these first couple of days are like. Games haven't started at the time we're talking to you, although they will very shortly. But what is the day like for you right now in terms of getting ready, just not even for the season, but just to let Cactus League play start?
For me, it's a little different. I got here in early January for a pitch design camp. So I've kind of been progressively getting ready as the off season was going. But right now, for the most, we'll go out, do some conditioning, field ground balls, do PFPs, play catch, and then we'll do our weightlifting stuff, training room. But obviously, it's all spread out in a period of time. But that's pretty much our days.
I want to go back to what you said a minute ago, a pitch design camp. Tell us about what that's like. That's the type of thing that I'm so fascinated by now in the modern game. And like 15, 20 years ago, nobody would have had any idea of what that meant. Tell us about that.
So for me, I was throwing two sliders. One was kind of like a gyro-y slider that didn't move too much, and then a sweeper that moved a lot, but I could never differentiate between the two because I just kind of picked it up and started throwing it. So some games it'd be good, some games it wouldn't be as good. So we went into the lab to get a bigger gap between my cutter and my slider because the slider on the bad ones were basically a slower version of my cutter.
That's awesome.
That's what I was in our pitch design lab for about 3 weeks.
There is no cooler phrase, by the way, than modern athletes who get to say, "Oh, we went into the lab and I worked on blank." That's like the coolest thing I think in this modern era. And there's so much information. Like there's so many things that you get to utilize and sort of harness. Does it feel like now? I mean, as you're going into camp, do you feel like, oh, I know these are two very distinct pitches now that I have at my disposal?
Oh yes, by far.
That's awesome. Are you excited to be able to sort of utilize them in different situations? I mean, do you kind of have a feel for, all right, I'm going to use the cutter more at X spot and the sweeper, the slider is going to work better as a wipeout pitch, or how do you approach that?
So I try to be able to throw all three of my pitches in any count. It doesn't matter who's hitting, whatever. So I try to get to the point where I'm comfortable with throwing all my pitches 0-0 or, full count with bases loaded.
That is amazing, man. It's so fascinating to learn about that stuff. And as Sam noted, you're coming off a season last year in which you're the minor league saves leader, and becoming a relief prospect and getting into that role of trying to close out games. It's something that on the one hand prepares you very well for what you can eventually do in the major leagues. On the other hand, it's such a different atmosphere than what you'll eventually be doing in the major leagues. I mean, if you get to Milwaukee and you're closing out a game, against the Cubs in September and you've got a division title at stake, that atmosphere is going to be wildly different than being in Carolina in June and there's 1,700 people there. What's the mentality like as a minor league closer where you're trusted with big spots, but sometimes it's the atmosphere probably doesn't dictate necessarily what the gravity of the circumstance might be?
Mm-hmm. So depending on the game or basically like how I got my sleep the night before, if I'm low on energy, I'll take a scoop of pre-workout to get the energy going. And then it's almost like you got all the fans there, the little bit of chatter, boost you up. But when you're in a packed house, I mean, it's all go. It just comes so easy.
And what do you feel like about your pitch mix? Your fastball, your curveball, your slider / cutter. What do you feel like works best as a closer? I mean, the fact that they entrusted you to that role and kept giving it to you to the point where you could lead the minors in saves.
Hold on. All right, ask that question again one more time so I can get a better grip on it.
Yeah, sure. What do you feel like about your pitch mix? Your fastball, your curveball, your slider / cutter. What do you feel like fits best in a closer role? Like, how are you able to take on that role given the pitches that you have?
So I think I'm just kind of like a distinct picture when it comes to in that relieving aspect, because my natural four-seam fastball is my cutter. So like a lot of reports say he throws four-seam, cutter, curveball, slider. So they're thinking fastball, it cuts away from them. They're thinking cutter is probably going to be my slider. That's just a little bit harder than the average sliders, So I think my pitch mix just kind of catches guys off guard. Especially like I throw with a high arm slot, so that downward like path tunnel like the ball comes out of and cuts through is just different than a lot of the hitters see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about that. How did your delivery kind of develop? Is that something you've had since high school, or at what point where you're like, I'm really going to cover over the top and just be uncomfortable for guys?
So I was a quarterback growing up, so that's kind of where the up top arm angle came from, and I was told by like a baseball coach when I was growing up, just throw it the same way. And eventually my four seam started cutting. So that's really all I got for the pitching, mechanic wise.
No, that'll do it. And at what point was that where you realized, hey, this has some cut on it? This is not just a natural four seamer.
The COVID year when we didn't have a season, I was playing catch with one of my buddies from back home, who at the time was at the University of Tampa, and they didn't have a season as well. So we're playing catch, doing pull downs and stuff. And for that period of time that he was home, it was just like, hey, bro, every time we're playing catch, your ball is cutting. Like, are you doing that on purpose? And I'm like, nah, whatever. Yeah, it's cutting. I've heard that before, but never really thought anything of it. And then I come into that following year, spring training 21, and now it's just a pitch that naturally no one's ever seen in our org.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask about that too, because like coming out of the pandemic year, like 2021 was your breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
So once you had that information that like, hey, this is cutting more, and this is something the org doesn't have, how did that change your outlook that spring and moving onward? When you finally got your affiliate assignment.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of just throw it somewhat down the middle, shade either way, just throw it over the plate and see what they can do with it. And then after a while, I started actually seeing the ball moving while I was throwing it. So that was like the point where I realized like, this is a nasty pitch. Like occasionally I'll get a 94-mile-an-hour slider per se.
What's crazy is I think if I remember, I'm pretty sure that Mariano Rivera's cutter, like he just picked up the ball differently one day and it started doing that. And like, he didn't really have a specific explanation for it. Like, have you heard of that happening with other guys?
No. So I was the first that I knew of that happening. And then Mariano was actually speaking in our rookie meeting this a couple of weeks ago and told us a story. He basically said every time someone would interview him, he would say, it was like a gift from God. He just picked it up and that's what it started doing.
That is amazing, man. And especially to realize how effective it can be. I have to ask, being somebody who is in Brewers camp. You get a chance to be now on a 40-man roster with a guy who has maybe the coolest named pitch and one of the most lethal pitches in baseball, and Devin Williams with the airbender. Have you approached him at all and been like, hey man, how do you do that?
I haven't approached him on the changeup or screw, but whatever the world calls it, I haven't approached him on it.
How much do you get to talk to guys about, like, hey, I want to learn how to do whatever? Like, what is the process to be able to go, especially to the veteran guys? I would think it's probably somewhat intimidating to just go up and be like, hey, I want to learn this. Can you help me out with that?
So all of our guys in our locker room, they're super cool, super relaxed. Like, you can actually just walk up to any of them, introduce yourself, and start chit chatting. Like that. That's a bunch of the veterans came up to me and like introduced themselves just because we're in like common areas, and it's awesome. But like back on to Devin, I was his throwing partner when he was rehabbing back in 2017. So I got a sneak peek of the changeup before it blew up, and I always told people like that when I was playing catch with him, it looked different. I've never seen anything like it. It looked like, I don't know, like it was spinning the wrong way or something.
That's amazing. Could you at that time could you tell like, oh, this is going to be a thing? I mean, this is like this is a pitch that is so good that it's going to be extremely effective in getting big league hitters out.
So this was my first year getting drafted. So I actually didn't know who he was, didn't know anything about him. Just knew he was a guy coming off of a UCL tear. So it was like one of my first people I played catch with even.
That is amazing. That's amazing. And like, what a way to be in your early years of pro ball and like seeing these things that, eventually you're going to take the baseball world by storm. Well, and you last year, I know May and June and on into July is when, you get out there, and April is always like, I feel like April, especially with, affiliates that are in chilly places and all that. If you're not at a complex league, like April is kind of a wash somewhat, but May, June, and into July, when you started hitting that rhythm of going out and having these dominant outings one after another and closing out games and all that, what does that feel like mentally? I mean, when you get the ball or when you get the nod, when you know you got to start getting ready, and you have been so locked in for a stretch of 5 or 10 or 15 outings or whatever it is, what does that feel like to be in that role?
It's just like kind of flows, you just try not to change anything. You just go about your day the same way you did the day before, and you just try to keep repeating it until you can't. So when I was on a roll like that, I just go home, play some MLB The Show, work on mixing pitches up.
All right. Actually, I got to jump in with one. You're a Florida-born guy, but now you're in the Brewers system, and you can plead the fifth on this. Do you, now that when you play the show, you got to play with the Brewers, right? Like, can you play with anybody else, or you have to play with the Brewers?
That's fun. Every time I try to play with the Brewers.
Okay.
So
all right.
We had a franchise league, me and some of my boys from back home. And, I'm like, oh, I got the Brewers, like, no doubt, like, whatever. And I picked them, and, we have a nasty pitching staff. So they're like, no, you can't use them. Their pitching staff's too good. Like, I'm like, bro, how are you guys going to make me switch up, like, my team?
Brewers prospect has to play with non-Brewers team. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's true. Exactly. They can't take that away from you. That's not fair.
No, but we got guys using the Red Sox. Like, come on, dude.
Oh, man.
They had like one of the best hitting teams on the show last year.
Well, like when you are taking over a franchise mode, how quickly do you promote yourself?
I'm yet to play with myself in the game.
Oh man,
that's gonna be a big day.
I think I got into like the minor league roster on the show like sometime in maybe August last year. So that's about when MLB The Show dies down for me, because play from March all the way to then, that's a lot of months.
Right.
So I didn't really get to play with myself or hit a bomb against myself on the road to the show, which would have been dope.
At least you can put it that way, that it would be dope to hit it against yourself, I guess.
That is some Matrix stuff. That's that's very meta, as they say.
Yeah. Cam Robinson on the mound and Cam Robinson up to bat.
I mean, who knows his stuff better than you, right?
That is true.
You know what's coming.
It's a very good point. You know how it's going to move.
Exactly. I can track my own pitches.
Well, if we can go to real life here for a second, we mentioned a few times you led the minor leagues in saves with 25, and Tyler, I'm sure you remember this. Like we talk to guys who lead the minor leagues, like the entire minor leagues in a category. And one of my favorite questions to ask is, how aware of that are you? Like saves is so dependent on your team has to be ahead. You have to be given the ball in the ninth inning, all of these things. Like it's not as easy as leading in stolen bases or home runs where you're just swinging for the fences all the time. But how aware of that were you down the stretch? Like I want to hold on to this number one spot.
So down the stretch, I kind of had to let it go because once I got up to AAA, I didn't have any save opportunities.
Right.
So it was just like, oh well, I hope no one, gets more than me. But I want to 2021, they like MILB Central or something like that would post like weekly leaderboards, and they used to have saves. And then at the beginning of this year or this past year, they did that as well. And then about a month into the season, it was off. So around then's when I was like, okay, well, I guess no one cares about this. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, we care. I will say that if your presence here is any truth to the matter, we care about it. And then one of the other things Tyler and I were talking about this earlier is, this might not be a thing in the minor leagues, but like we were talking about Mariano before. Enter Sandman is a big song. You were talking about your routine going into the game, but like when you were playing at home games and you were like, hey, I'm going to be the closer. Did you get to choose your music, and what was it?
I did. So one night we were just a group of us were hanging out playing video games, and on a random I think it's like Infinity Button on Apple Music, a song came on by Wiz Khalifa features in it. It's called Brand New, and Wiz's actual name is Cameron. So in his verse of the song, he says like Cameron has this, Cameron did this, Cameron did this, all this stuff. So I used that this past year as my walkout song.
Oh, see? Like some people take on the nick, like Mariano Rivera becomes Sandman. You're already in the song. Like that's
that's easy.
Yeah, that's so much cooler. All right. So how do you kind of attack this spring training then? You said already, like AAA, you had to go up there. You knew you weren't the closer anymore. Now you're on the 40 man. You're technically fighting for a major league spot. How do you kind of attack that and try to show, especially as a reliever in which you're only getting an inning or two here and there, try to prove your major league readiness?
So for me, it's just being me. Like, just don't try to do too much. Stay within myself, and whatever happens, just let it happen. You go out there, you have a good outing, cool, nice. Let's just move on to the next one. Try to repeat. You go out there, have a bad outing, cool, whatever. Wash it off in the shower, and have a good day the next day. That's really it for that.
Cam, let's go back even further in your baseball life for a minute. You were drafted out of high school, and you make the decision to sign out of high school. And I know there's so much that goes into that. Of course, you had a college commit that I know came a little late to USF, and you're a 23rd round pick, so you're right in that spot where it's like you can sign. You could go to school. What were the decision factors that go into, I want to try this right now? Because you're a 2017 pick, but you're still so young. We look at most guys that were 2017, if they were coming out of, college or whatever, and they're a little bit further along age-wise. You're still so young now at this stage in your career. What led you to signing out of high school?
My pops. So funny story. He was a principal there at this time. So I was in the kitchen talking to my parents. We were kind of debating on whether I should go to school or sign. And ultimately it came down to a question he asked me. He goes, look, my middle name's Julian and my dad's name's Cameron as well. So they call me Julian at home. He goes, look, Julian, if I had a bag of books or a bag of money, which one would you want? And that's how the the deal was made.
That's honestly the most straightforward and relatable query in that conversation that I could imagine. That's like what it comes down to. That's fantastic. I very much like the clarity of that, and especially to be at that stage in your life and think like, no, this is what I want to do right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I always got good grades, so school wasn't like that
Yeah.
thing to do. I was like, I'll go to school, I get paid for it, still get to play baseball. And then now they're offering you money and they tell you can do what you like doing. That a kid game for a living. Sure.
That's amazing.
So what were the conversations like with your parents when you got added to the 40 man? Like all these years later, like that question that set you off on this journey, if, who knows what would have happened if you went to USF. Now you're on the 40 man roster for a major league team and one step away at any moment from making your debut. What were those conversations like in November?
So Dad, realist, let me start. He's always supported me and he's always, had my back no matter what. But we were, sitting down talking and he said, about 7 years ago, if you would have told me, or someone would have came up to me and told me that you would have got drafted, you'd have then worked your way up to the 40 man and have a shot at being a big leaguer, I would have told them no shot. But I'm proud of you and I'm happy I could be, a part of this journey with you, as long as my mom being there as well. But that's kind of how that combo went.
Yeah, I mean, it has a happy ending, right? Like that's all that matters. All right, well, we'll end on this one. I always like to ask guys this question too, especially those who are right on the cusp of a spring. Are you somebody who allows yourself to envision what a major league debut will look like? And if so, what in your head does that look like?
So I have envisioned this a lot of times. So the Brewers were playing in either Tampa or Miami, preferably Tampa. That's where I was born. I'm on the mound with a bunch of people that are from my hometown or that were there when I was born, because my parents had me in college. It takes a village to raise somebody at that point of life. So it's just on that mound and getting a save with 2 punch outs.
2 punch outs. Oh, it's down to that.
I like
specific.
that. I like that at the end with 2 punch outs. That's awesome.
Gotta make sure there's 2 punch outs. One to throw the ball away to save forever, and the one to save for my first save.
There you go. See, that's like Liam Hendricks level stuff of like making sure you have the ball. We have a closer who's big into authentication already. So I love it. Well, Cam Robinson, thank you so much for taking all this time and speaking with us here on the show before the show. We're wishing you all the luck down there in Phoenix, and we'll keep a close eye on how the next couple of weeks go ahead of you. And hopefully that MLB debut with 2 Ks is right down the pike.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
Well, huge thanks to Cam Robinson, last year's minor league baseball saves leader, for joining us on this week's episode of the show before the show. And we go from saves leader in the minor leagues to a guy who saves us from week to week on this podcast. That's Benjamin Hill, who joins the show. Hi, Ben.
The savior of minor league baseball.
The saves leader on the show.
All right. Well,
yeah, you went from save leader to savior.
I guess we could ask you this, Ben. Like, what would your closer entrance song be?
Oh, I've thought about that a lot, and then I have all these awesome ideas, and I usually forget them. For both walk up and closer, I often
I'm the same exact way. I'll hear a song and think like, oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make a note of it. I might think about tweeting it, and then I kind of forget. So I know I have a lot of great ones. I mean, a real kind of basic one I always go back to, which would work, is both closer, more stretched out, or just at bat. I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath, as I've talked about a few times on the show, but they have one song, Electric Funeral, which just has this catchy but real dirge-like riff, down, 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 down.
Oh, yeah.
Down, 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 down. It's a real early Sabbath. And I love how Ozzy sings. His vocal pattern is just the riff itself, that's not how he sings, but I don't want to get the words wrong.
I was thinking,
can we just make this the whole segment?
Yeah,
we just have Ben
coming, you better hide. War Pigs is an incredible song.
Yeah, War Pigs would be like the perfect closer entrance song, and doo.
Yeah, no, that would be good.
I don't want to go too far into it. We might be bumping into rights issues here with Black Sabbath.
I think these are such poor renditions that no one would ever be able to recognize.
Right. Nobody can claim that we are ripping out Black Sabbath in any way with any of this.
Yeah, so that's a simple one. Tonight I'll be like, oh yeah, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? But
That reminds me of at the beginning of this podcast 8 years ago, whatever it was. We
8
had the
years.
idea of 8 years this year. Holy smokes. We had the idea of like, well, should we have theme music? Should we do this? Should we do that? And I suggested to the person in the department who was kind of heading up the project. I was like, can we use the theme music from Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for Super Nintendo? And he was like, I don't think that'll work. It's like, I don't think we have the rights to be able to use that. I was like, come on, it's like the greatest sports video game theme song ever.
Yeah,
So,
if any 8-bit composers out there or 16-bit composers,
yeah, if you want to fire us up a little retro 90s game themed song, we would gladly add that to the show before the show.
Yeah, I think it's about time we change up the music every
every few years.
Yeah,
we kind of swap out the music. We are probably overdue for a change. Anybody who's tuned in who knows how to compose retro video game themes, give us your best crack at something that sounds like Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball, but isn't. But those are good answers for entrance / walk-up songs. I've always thought that it would be really funny to just go up to like a very grandiose piece of classical music. Like just something that people will make everybody in the ballpark be like, what is happening right now? Who is this dude like coming in a pinch hit? And then it's just, the entire score of the HMS Pinafore sung by Sideshow Bob. It's going to be a fantastic plan. Well, Ben, what do you have going on? It's obviously the time of year where promo schedules are rolling out fast and furious. I know we had a lot this week, a lot in the newsletter. Ballpark guides continue to come out. Where should we start in the buffet of Benjamin Hill content?
Yeah, in ballpark guides, I'm talking about them every week. We're getting closer and closer. Northwest Arkansas Naturals, Arvest ballpark came out today, completing the Royals system. Right now, all those ballpark guides are at milb.com/fans/ballpark guides. You can find a little tab on the main page that goes to those two, but building out an interactive map and getting real close to the end of that project. So that's a big one. Newsletter. We're talking on Thursday. That came out today. It's something we've talked about, I think, before. Well, we talked about Hartford bouncing pickles and pickle laws. And, I went into that about the fact that there's Trenton Thunder and Hartford Yard Goats. Both have promotions this year related to pickle laws and the absurdity of pickle-based local laws. So I just had to write about that. I like that kind of bizarre confluence of events in minor league baseball with promotions.
By the way, did we get any clearance from the NYPD to close off anything to drop pickles? You guys were supposed to be on.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
The permission is still up in the air.
Yeah,
the wheels are still in motion.
Yeah,
not a done deal.
Okay, just wanted to follow up on it.
Done deal.
It
Wasn't a done deal.
It did not sound like dill.
I tried to make it super subtle, but maybe I made it too subtle.
That was actually
Anyway, yeah, a lot of promos coming out every day. New promo schedules. Hot off the press. Hudson Valley Renegades announced their promo schedule today, and it's headlined. Right in the press release headline. Highlighted by Snooki Night. So Snooki from the Jersey Shore reality show. That's the big one for Hudson Valley. And she's actually from Marlboro, New York, which is near where the Hudson Valley Renegades play. I think technically they're based in Wappinger Falls. It's also near Beacon. It's around that area. So they didn't mention this, but I looked it up. It's September 8th, Snooki Night. I was like, I wonder who they're playing. And lo and behold, who are the Hudson Valley Renegades playing when Snooki is going to be in the ballpark?
The Aberdeen Ironbirds.
No. The fake tan solutions. The Jersey Shore Blue Claws.
Jersey Shore Blue Claws. So
they should be like the Jersey Shore Situations for that night or something.
Yeah.
Literally the only other person that I could name from that show.
Oh, me too. Wasn't there a guy named like Joey T-shirts or something like that?
That sounds right.
Time at some point.
Yeah, I remember the t-shirt time thing because when I worked in Myrtle Beach, when we would have a free t-shirt throwout thing after like the 6th inning or whatever, they would play that sound bite where they say it's t-shirt time. And I remember finally, like midway through, I think it was like my 2nd season there, I went to Jake White, who was our head, creative video board audio. I was like, what is that from? He's like, oh, it's from Jersey Shore. What? I was not in on that particular cultural phenomenon.
No, I was not either. The only time I ever watched it when I was sick in a hotel room during a minor league baseball promo seminar in who knows what city. But memories.
It's the most Ben Hill story that could possibly exist. It was at the promo seminar. I don't remember where.
Yeah.
Because there have been so many of them.
There is, I've lived a peripatetic life. So anyway, that's a highlight. Last week on the show, we had Alan Miller, the new president and owner of the Lake County Captains. He talked a little bit about the Captains promos coming up this year, including Richard Night, which is happening, a Richard parade on one of their Sausage Fest nights. But he also mentioned this one, and it's happening, the John Ryan Punt Challenge. John Ryan, also a member of the ownership group, is a former NFL punter, member of the Seahawks Super Bowl champion team. And so they are having a promo where you could win a chance to take a punt back during the game kicked by or punted by John Ryan. So I'll be interested to see that one. It's like during the game, I guess the between inning break, they set a fan up in the outfield and have John Ryan kick it to him.
Now, if you drop it, if you drop it, or as they say in football parlance, if you muff the punt, what happens? Is that the end? Do you get to pick it up? Can you recover and try to return it?
All it says is, you can register to win a chance to take a punt back during the game. Participants who successfully catch a punt, so more than one person will have this chance, will be upgraded to the John Ryan ownership suite and showered with praise. So very exciting. They also have, he did not mention this one, but Walt Whitman night, which...
Will he be in attendance?
He will not. Well, maybe, you never know, but I think he might be dead. Walt Whitman.
Will they have a Ouija board?
Yeah, he's not from East Lake, Ohio or anything, but one of his best known poems starts with the lines, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." So I think that's why they're having it. Our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack. The prize we sought is won. The captains pay tribute to poet Walt Whitman on what would be his 204th birthday. So he's not alive.
Wow.
On the leaves of grass at Classic Auto Group Park.
That's
there you go. There you go.
I was going to make a leaves of grass reference. I just did like, I did like
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah,
it was about Abraham Lincoln. My
was
first
it?
Walt Whitman reference is that episode of The Simpsons where I think Homer's looking for where he thought his mother was buried, and then he actually goes and visits, and it's Walt Whitman's gravestone instead. And he's like, "Damn you, Walt Whitman."
I do remember that episode.
Yeah.
Walt Whitman, I believe, wrote about baseball substantially late in life. Isn't he the one that Annie in Bull Durham references?
Yes.
It will repair our losses and be a blessing to us.
I do believe, he was a Brooklyn guy in the 19th century, and I think he was captivated by America's newly popular national pastime.
That is Walt Whitman, by the way. However, the first thing that I see under the confirmation that it was Walt Whitman is a story from the Los Angeles Times titled, quote, "Did Bull Durham misquote Walt Whitman on baseball?" So I don't know. It might not actually be a quote, but anyway, please continue.
So anyway, Walt Whitman, and so we have catching a punt from a former NFL punter. We have Walt Whitman. We have Midge Night in honor of Bugs, midges. The Lake County Captains are a Cleveland affiliate, and so they're paying tribute to midges, who played a great role in that New York Yankees Cleveland playoff game years back when
is Jabba Chamberlain going to be involved somehow?
Yeah, I
former Nebraska Cornhusker Jabba Chamberlain.
So celebrating midges at the ballpark, and then this is one I love that I back when I used to be a little more pestering with ideas I thought teams should do, but Cleveland Record Fair, they're having a record fair on the concourse. Local people from local stores, local dealers, DJ. That is just such a cool thing to do, and I just wish more teams did that. I know
that is pretty cool.
A limited thing, but
it does feel very fitting that it's in the Cleveland area that it's happening. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Cleveland is maybe not the birthplace of rock and roll, but it is where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, and they've got a great rock and roll history there. And
you might even say Cleveland rocks.
Yeah, Cleveland rocks. Yeah, exactly. A lot of weird underground bands through the years in Cleveland too. speaking of Cleveland, not really, but Ohio, we'll stay in Ohio. We've talked about the Akron Rubber Ducks quite a few times. We talked about their sauerkraut balls, food-related alternate identity, which they announced on New Year's Day. And then once again, on a federal holiday, this time President's Day, they announced another alternate identity, and that is Devil Strips. And when you just see Devil Strips is the alternate identity, you think like, what is that? Another Northeast Ohio food product?
My first thought was like, it's like a chicken finger with weird spices or something.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Something, dipped in cayenne pepper, just really
right.
Something
Super spicy. Yeah.
But on July 7th, they're going to be the Devil Strips. The logo is a red-faced devil with green hair and a green goatee. That green hair and green goatee is meant to represent grass, because a devil strip refers to the grassy area between the street and the sidewalk. The term is believed to be first used in Northeast Ohio to describe the area between streetcars going in opposite directions. The current use of the term was first used in Akron in the late 1920s. So they're playing as the Devil Strips in honor of a regionally specific term devoted to that grassy area between the sidewalk and the street. So
I think there is a term for those out here, but I know it's not Devil Strip, and I have no idea what it is. Like what a hyper specific thing to not only have the name for, but know that it was first used in your region. That's pretty impressive localization.
We've learned a lot about Northeast Ohio through the Akron Rubber Ducks over the last couple of years with sauerkraut balls and with JoJo's, the potato side dish, and now with Devil Strips and probably other things I'm forgetting. But minor league baseball is always an educational experience. So all the stuff we've been riffing about, it has been very, Ohio based so far, but just goes to show there's a lot of stuff being announced. There will continue to be a lot of stuff being announced. We are, of course, getting for real close to opening day right now. And independent of all that, this is something I came across earlier today when I was looking for something else. I put it on Twitter, but in case you guys didn't see it, I'll ask you this. Who is the oldest living Arizona Diamondback?
The oldest living Arizona Diamondback?
Yeah.
So
because there's one guy still alive from the Brooklyn Dodgers who's, I forget his name, but it's an interesting story because he was 18 and played one game in 1943, and he's now 97. So I was looking from one thing to another, and then I just saw a team by team list of oldest living players, and I just thought that phrase was funny, the oldest living Arizona Diamondback.
It definitely sounds like a Weird Al song in some way.
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like, it could be somebody who was like at the tail end of their career in 98 when they debuted.
It's not like Charlie Huff, is it?
It is not, although I didn't look at the Marlins, but I'm almost sure he
would be the guy.
He has to be the oldest living Miami Marlin, Florida Marlins player. I will tell you that the oldest the oldest living Tampa Bay Devil Ray is the immortal Hall of Famer Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs.
That one I would have gotten.
I could have guessed either Wade Boggs or Fred McGriff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, the oldest.
This man was born
Diamondback.
1 year after Wade Boggs in 1959. He was a pitcher.
Holy cow.
He pitched for a lot of years into his 40s, was never like an A-list guy.
Jamie Moyer?
No. Jamie Moyer is beyond A-list. He's like A+ list in my book.
Okay.
No, but he played into his 40s. He bounced around. By the end of it, he had been on, some 10, 11, 12 teams. I remember him collecting baseball cards as a kid, as a Mariner, and he always had really bad 1-loss records. And I'll be like, man, this guy must be no good. He went like 5-17, like stuff like that. But he lasted a long time. Not a household name, but obviously played a long time. So you've heard of him.
It's definitely going to be one of those names that we're like, oh yeah, that guy. I do not have a guess.
His last name and first name start with the same letter.
What is
that
the letter?
Is M.
I'm trying to get out Mark Melanson out of my head. It's obviously not him. But
I have a guess. Now I did cheat and look it up, but I do have a guess that actually I don't know if he did. Is it Mike Morgan?
Mike Morgan.
Ah! I can't believe I thought of that. I looked it up to see if he played for I was like, I think I remember him briefly on the D-backs. Yeah, the end of his career, he pitched. Goodness gracious, he pitched he pitched in 120 games in 3 years for the D-backs. Holy cow. That's actually more appearances than he had in any other uniform in his career, and he was only there 3 years.
Wow.
That is wild. Wow. Yeah, Mike Morgan, 63 years old. He was the 4th overall pick in 1978. Did not know that. And he pitched until 2002. Holy cow.
Yeah, that guy was around. Mike Morgan. So I don't know how cool. Mike Morgan, if he's specifically aware of this, but if I was Mike Morgan, I would let people know all the time I was the oldest living Diamondback. Like, what a cool thing.
Would that be no, I guess you can't put that on your gravestone, huh?
Oh, well, yeah.
That's the whole point of the gravestone.
Prior to this occurrence was oldest living Diamondback.
Once held title. That's world's oldest living Diamondback. I had to look it up. I have long joked the man who started the first home game in Colorado Rockies history is a dude by the name of Bryn Smith. Bryn Smith pitched 12 years in the big leagues. That was actually the start of his final season in the big leagues. But Bryn Smith, when he made his debut for the Rockies, he was 37 years old. I am 37 years old right now. I urge you to go look up Bryn Smith, who his first name is Bryn S.
I remember him from my baseball card days. He was was he an Expo or
he was an Expo. He was an Expo. He was a Cardinal. Bryn Smith, when he pitched for the Rockies, like if you look up Bryn Smith Rockies, he was purportedly 37 years old. He has the look of like a grizzled 1880s prospector who's just trying to find one big hit in his late 60s. He looks so ancient, and apologies to anybody who knows Bryn Smith who was listening to this podcast. He's just now in his late 60s. He looked like, if you look up Bryn Smith in 1993, he is the oldest looking 37-year-old to ever exist. And it just makes me wonder, like, what were ball players doing in that era that Bryn Smith looked like that at 37? But he is the oldest living. He's the oldest living Colorado Rocky, and I'm very happy that is the case, because that's always been
players. Old guys definitely looked older when we were young.
So much older
when we were young. Look at some of those cards, like with Don Sutton or Phil Niekro.
Yes. They did live much harder than we currently do. But yeah, Bryn Smith, you cannot convince me. There's also a picture of Bryn Smith from like the mid 2010s from a story in the Santa Maria Times, which is some in California, about him coaching or something. He looks younger modern day than he did when he was playing in the mid 90s, the early 90s. There's also, I still have this card. I'm just looking now at Bryn Smith Google image results. There is a baseball card, an upper deck card of his from that inaugural season for the Rockies, where he's fielding a baseball between his legs in spring training. And I'm assuming somebody was just like, all right, I guess we'll use that. It's the only one of Bryn Smith that we got. We might as well use that picture.
Well, this makes me think, like, for anybody associated with a minor league team out there, find your oldest player.
That's a great idea.
Let us know, like, who is your oldest living player? How far back do they go? Like, some of these teams obviously go back decades and decades and decades. So
that is a very good idea.
You have somebody who can beat the Brooklyn Dodger.
Yeah. Do we have, like a member of the 1942 Rochester Red Wings? Is somebody around?
That would be fascinating. I would love to find that series.
That's possible. That person could be 98. Something
that would be fun. I bet the oldest living trash panda is still around.
I would imagine so. Yes.
About to celebrate his 24th birthday.
still in the prime of life. Just embarking on the prime of life.
That would be so sad if it's just like we do this series for the site, and then all of a sudden we just circle back to the trash pandas, and it's like Sonny DiChiara, who's just like, I'm still excited to.
What does that designation mean to you as the oldest currently living trash panda? Like, well, I had my 25th birthday last week. That is some good stuff. Ben, what's coming up in the newsletter? What's on the forefront for ballpark guides?
Yeah, well, as I said, Northwest Arkansas just came out. We got Birmingham Barons on the way. I'm working on Rome Braves. Got other people working on Mississippi Braves, on Bowling Green Hot Rods. Getting real close, as I said, to getting all that done. And yeah, the newsletter. Subscribe. Ben's Biz Beat newsletter every single Thursday. As I mentioned, this one has, a lot of the stuff we just talked about now, and also a good question about this was, to me, inspired when it was Babe Ruth's birthday, and I saw that mentioned on Twitter, and that reminded me when I was in Fayetteville, and I went to a place that is now just a Department of Transportation building, but it has a plaque, a historical marker, saying that Babe Ruth had his first professional home run there in like March 1918 or something like that. And that got me thinking. In the newsletter, I ask a question every week, always encourage reader feedback, for people to share their favorite or just places, statues, plaques, historical markers, museums, things they've come across in their own minor league baseball travels, either in their hometown or visiting elsewhere. Just little peripheral, fun baseball history related things that you find on the road or that are located near you. So I've already started to get some responses to that. And I think that's a topic to think about. And hit me up if you got anything to share. And I bet a good chunk of next week's newsletter will be dedicated to just that.
That is fantastic. You can find Benjamin Hill, of course, on Twitter at Ben's Biz. He's on Instagram at the Ben's Biz, and get in touch with him however you may. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. By
the way, happy birthday, Harry.
Tomorrow thanks. That's my son.
Is Harry's second birthday, Ben's son. Big happy birthday to Harry, who enjoys cake. Get him a good one.
He loves cake. He calls it birthday, so it's all good.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Cam Robinson for stopping by the show today. And no Josh Jackson, you may have noticed. Josh big leagued us on the minor league podcast, so that's ironic. No, Josh has had all kinds of projects lately for MLB Pipeline, for MILB, for all that kind of stuff. So he was getting caught up on all that. So Ghosts will return. He sent us an email titled Ghosting Ghosts, and that's what he did this week. By the way, Cam gave us some very cool stuff after we stopped recording, and his story is awesome, man. What a fun kid to get a chance to talk to.
Yeah, I just loved all those details of like he was a quarterback. And somebody just said, throw it like that, which is not really how you should teach mechanics.
Right.
By the way, I wouldn't, if you have a child at home, I would not
probably don't teach them that from like age 5.
Yeah.
At that stage in your development, like you could probably handle it, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend starting that way.
No, but it worked out for him. I mean, that's the thing about baseball, right? Is that there is no one straight route to making the big leagues. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands. So hearing that from him was really cool. I really like that story about the cutter where it's just like, oh, it does this and don't change a thing because it just moves
unbelievable
in its own way. And also the fact that like the reports on him, which, as somebody who does the Brewers top 30, I've talked to people and they're like, oh yeah, he added a cutter, and to hear that from him where he's just like, it didn't really add it. It just developed naturally. And that's how he throws his 4-seamer is interesting too. So
yeah, loved
getting all that stuff from him. And him just, like you said, like after we stopped hitting record, him just telling more stories about his dad, what it's like, it just, his dad sounds like the most principal.
Yeah.
Which makes all the sense in the world. Being both supportive, but wanting to be there and explain the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
At every turn. That's good to have in your family.
Pretty amazing.
Also sounds like he almost went to winter ball.
Yeah. Which
for his sake,
cool too.
I'm kind of happy he didn't. He had a lot of innings last year as a reliever. I get it. You don't lead the minor leagues in saves without getting a lot of work in. But something to watch down the pike of.
Absolutely.
He's got Dominican heritage on his mom's side. So maybe that's something we'll be talking about with Cam Robinson down the line.
Pretty cool stuff. And a huge thanks to Cam for stopping by. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. For Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra and Cam Robinson of the Milwaukee Brewers, my name is Tyler Maun. We'll catch you next week.